I still remember the day Emma was born. I was 5, and Mom and Dad told me I was going to be a big sister. They said it would be wonderful, that I'd have a best friend for life. What they didn't mention was that I'd also become invisible. My name is Paula, and growing up in the Mitchell household meant learning early on that there was a clear hierarchy. Emma was at the top, and I was somewhere below the family dog. It wasn't subtle either. Every morning, Mom would make Emma's breakfast to order. 2 eggs sunny side up, toast cut diagonally, just how my princess likes it, while tossing me a box of cereal. The differences showed up everywhere. When I needed braces, Dad complained about the cost for months. 2 years later, Emma needed them too, and suddenly money was no object. They even got her the fancy clear ones I'd begged for but Ben denied. My statements were met with distracted nods, while MSc Plus in math earned her a celebratory dinner at her favorite restaurant. Birthday parties were another sore spot. Mine were simple affairs, supermarket cake, a few friends in the backyard. Emma's, however, were full-blown productions with bounce houses, hired entertainers, and custom-made cakes. I once overheard Mom telling her friend, "Well, Emma just appreciates these things more." Paula's practical. The worst part was watching Emma change. She started out as a sweet kid. We used to build blanket forts together and make up silly stories. But year after year of being treated like she could do no wrong took its toll. By the time she hit middle school, she'd become exactly what you'd expect. "Paula, where's my blue sweater?" She'd demand, ransacking my closet without permission. "That's mine, Emma. Mom bought it for my birthday." "Well, I need it for Jessica's party." "Mom, Paula won't share." And inevitably, "Paula, don't be selfish. Let your sister borrow it." I learned to pick my battles, to expect nothing, and to find validation elsewhere. School became my sanctuary. While Emma was being showered with praise for participating in the school play, she had 2 lines. I was winning science fairs, acing AP classes, and quietly building my escape plan. When my acceptance letter from State University arrived with a full scholarship, I thought, maybe just maybe, they'd be proud. Instead, dinner that night was dominated by Emma's dramatic retelling of her 7th grade student council election campaign. "Mom, I got a full scholarship." I tried to interject during a rare pause. "That's nice, honey," Mom replied. "Emma, sweetie, tell us more about your campaign posters." Those first years at college, I only came home for major holidays. Even then, I'd count the minutes until I could leave. Every visit was the same. Emma's achievements took center stage while my dean's list standings and internship offers barely warranted a glance. I learned to keep my visits short and my expectations shorter. The moment finals ended each semester, I'd be back in my dorm, where at least my achievements were my own and nobody compared them to a younger sister's mediocre ones. During my junior year at State, I got a Facebook message that would change my life. "Hey, remember me? Mike Harrison from Kennedy High. I was a senior when you were a freshman." Of course I remembered him, the cute guy from the debate team who'd never given me a second glance back then. We started chatting daily, sharing college stories and memories from high school. He was working as an engineer back in our hometown, and something just clicked between us. After graduation, I moved back home and landed a job at Turner and Associates as a project manager. Mike and I met for coffee during my first week back. That coffee turned into dinner, dinner turned into dating, and before I knew it, we were apartment hunting together. The only dark cloud was my parents' continued indifference. They barely acknowledged my new job or relationship, too busy fretting over Emma's college experience. "She's having such a hard time adjusting," Mom would sigh during our rare phone calls. "Not everyone can just breeze through college like you did." But I had Mike's family to make up for it. His parents, Tom and Sarah, welcomed me like the daughter they never had, and his sister, Jenny, became the sister I'd always wanted Emma to be. They came over for dinner weekly, helped us furnish our apartment, and actually cared about my career progress. "We're so proud of you both," Sarah said at our small wedding 2 years later. It was a simple ceremony in Mike's parents' backyard with just close friends and family. My parents came, of course, but spent most of the reception talking about Emma's summer internship. Life felt perfect. I was excelling at work, happily married, and finally part of a family that valued me. When I got pregnant a couple of years after the wedding, I thought things couldn't get any better. Our son Lucas was born healthy and beautiful, and Mike seemed every bit the doting father. But something changed after Lucas turned 1. Mike grew distant. He started working late and canceled our date nights. I tried to tell myself it was just new parent stress, but deep down I knew it was more. The confession came on a regular Tuesday evening. I was feeding Lucas in his high chair when Mike walked in, looking like he hadn't slept in days. "I need to tell you something," he said, his voice shaking. "I've met someone else. Her name is Rachel. She's a client at work, and I'm in love with her." The divorce was quick and surprisingly civil. Mike moved to Colorado with Rachel, but insisted on paying generous alimony and child support. "I may be a terrible husband," he said during our last meeting, "but I won't be a terrible father." I sat in my lawyer's office after signing the final papers, holding Lucas close. At 2 years old, he was too young to understand why Daddy wasn't coming home anymore. After the divorce, Mike's family became my lifeline. Despite everything that happened with their son, Tom and Sarah remained devoted grandparents to Lucas, and Jenny was the best aunt a kid could ask for. Lucas would light up every time we visited their house, running straight to the toy corner they'd set up specially for him. Tom would get down on the floor to play with trucks, and Jenny always had some new game or craft project planned. My own parents' house was a different story entirely. I tried visiting them occasionally, hoping they'd want to build a relationship with their only grandchild, but it was painful to watch their indifference. "Paula, don't let him touch that vase," Mom would snap, barely looking up from her magazine. "And make sure he doesn't run around too much. He'll scratch the hardwood floors." Lucas would cling to my leg, sensing the cold atmosphere. The contrast became even more stark when Emma would show up during our visits. "There's my successful girl." Dad would beam as Emma breezed in, talking about her new job at some trading company. They'd completely ignore Lucas's attempts to show them his latest drawing, too busy hanging on Emma's every word about office politics and client meetings. Those visits became less and less frequent. Instead, I focused on what I could control, my career and creating a stable, loving home for Lucas. With Jenny and her parents happy to help with childcare, I started taking on more challenging projects at work. The Singapore account is high risk. My boss warned when I volunteered to lead it. "No one's been able to close this deal in 3 years." "I can do it," I said firmly. And I did. 3 months of late nights, video calls across time zones, and detailed proposals later, I not only closed the deal, but expanded it to twice its original size. More successful projects followed, each one building my reputation further until I was the go-to person for our most challenging clients. The promotion to senior account director came with a corner office and a salary that made my eyes water. To Paula Mitchell, my team toasted after I landed the Microsoft account. The miracle worker. The bonus from that deal was the final piece I needed. That weekend, I took Lucas house hunting. "This one has a park nearby," the realtor said, showing us a beautiful 3-bedroom apartment. "And the school district is excellent." Lucas ran from room to room, excited about having his own space for all his toys. I watched him exploring, calculator app open on my phone as I ran the mortgage numbers one more time. "We'll take it," I said. That night, as I tucked Lucas into his bed at our old apartment for one of the last times, he asked, "Mommy, are we really getting a new home?" "With my own room." "With your own room and a special art corner and space for all your books." He hugged me tight. "You're the best mommy ever." In that moment, I realized something. While I couldn't change my past or my parents' behavior, I could break the cycle. My son would never doubt his worth or feel second best. It was amazing how quickly things changed after word got out about my promotion and new apartment. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "Sweetie, we haven't seen you and Lucas in ages. Why don't you come over this weekend?" I nearly dropped my coffee. This was the same woman who'd spent the last 5 years barely acknowledging my existence. I thought about Lucas, who still asked about his grandparents sometimes. Maybe people can change. The next weekend, I took Lucas to their house. The difference was startling. "There's my favorite grandson," Dad called out as we walked in. Considering Lucas was their only grandson, this wasn't saying much, but still. "Look what Grandma got you." Mom produced a new toy truck, something she'd never done before. "And I made cookies. You do like chocolate chip, right?" Lucas, too young to remember their previous indifference, was delighted. I watched as my mother actually got down on the floor to play with him, something I'd never seen her do before. "Paula, honey," Mom said later while Lucas was occupied with his new truck. "We'd love to have him over more often, maybe some weekends. You must need a break sometimes." It was surreal, but I decided to go with it. What was that saying about not looking a gift horse in the mouth? Over the next few months, my parents became surprisingly involved grandparents. They started asking for Lucas to stay over on weekends, and I used that time to catch up with Jenny. "You seem happier," Jenny observed during one of our shopping trips. "More relaxed." It's nice seeing them finally make an effort, I admitted, even if I knew why. The why became clearer when the requests started coming, small at first. Mom needed help with a plumbing bill. Dad's watch needed repair. Little things that were easy enough to cover with my new salary. "Of course I'll help," I said each time, remembering all the dance lessons and summer camps they'd paid for Emma, but denied me. It felt good, in a way, to be the one they turned to now. Then I heard about Emma through the family. "Great, great, fine," Mom said. Her job at the trading company wasn't going as planned. She'd been passed over for several promotions. "It's just office politics," Mom defended during one of our new regular family dinners. "They don't recognize talent." The requests for money grew larger. A new refrigerator, home repairs, then came the big one. "Sweetheart," Dad said one Sunday while Lucas was napping upstairs, "we've been thinking of getting a new car. The payments would be a bit steep for us, but with your new position." "How much?" They named a figure that would have made me choke a year ago. Now it was manageable. "We'll pay you back," Mom assured me, but we both knew they wouldn't. I agreed anyway. Maybe it was validation I was buying, or maybe I just wanted to prove something to myself. Either way, I started sending them a check each month for the car payments. "Just be careful," Jenny told me over coffee the next day. "Money has a way of complicating things." I nodded, but inside I was thinking, how complicated could it get? I had more than enough, and if buying my parents' attention meant Lucas got to have grandparents in his life, wasn't that worth it? It started as a normal Tuesday at work. I was in the middle of a client presentation when the first wave of pain hit, sharp and sudden, making me double over in my chair. "Call an ambulance," I heard someone say. She's white as a sheet. Everything after that became a blur of movement and voices. The paramedics arrived quickly, helping me onto a stretcher while I tried to focus through the waves of pain. Classic appendicitis symptoms, one of them said. We need to get her to Memorial right away. Through the haze of pain, one clear thought broke through. Lucas. He needed to be picked up from school in 2 hours. At the hospital, the diagnosis was quick and definitive. Your appendix needs to come out, the doctor said. We've got an oar ready. You'll need to stay for at least 2 days post-surgery. I need to make a call first, I managed to say. My son. The nurse handed me my phone, and I dialed Mom's number with shaking fingers. She picked up on the 4th ring. Mom, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I'm in the hospital. It's my appendix. They need to operate right away. Could you please pick up Lucas from school? I'll need someone to watch him for a couple of days while I recover. There was a pause, then, oh, honey, that's not possible. Your father and I are getting ready for Emma's promotion party. She finally made junior executive at her company. The pain in my stomach was nothing compared to the one in my chest. Mom, please. I need help. Lucas needs to be picked up in less than 2 hours. Well, that's really not our problem, she said, her voice suddenly cold. We are in a hurry to go to a restaurant where there will be 50 people. We can't be babysitting. Babysitting? He's your grandson, I said. Look, Paula, she sighed as if I was being unreasonable. Lucas is your responsibility. He's always being so noisy and touching everything. It's really quite a burden. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. A burden? After everything I've done for you? I've been paying your car loan for the past year, every time you needed money. She cut me off with a laugh that chilled me to the bone. We won't be meeting your handouts anymore. Emma's new position comes with an excellent salary. She's going to help us instead of you. The line went dead. I lay there in the hospital bed, the phone still pressed to my ear, tears mixing with sweat on my face. All those months of helping them, all that money, all those weekends of playing happy family, and this was what it came down to. The moment someone better came along, Lucas and I were back to being inconvenient afterthoughts. The nurse touched my arm gently. Miss Mitchell, we really need to prep you for surgery now. I nodded, already pulling up Jenny's number on my phone. She picked up on the first ring. Jenny, my voice cracked. I'm in the hospital. Appendicitis. They're prepping me for surgery. Could you please pick up Lucas from school? I hate to ask, but... Text me the school details. She cut in immediately. What time does he need to be picked up? 2:30. Jenny, I'm so sorry to impose. Stop it. Lucas is my nephew. Of course I'll get him. We'll have a sleepover at my place, won't we? He loves playing with Max anyway. I could hear her grabbing her keys in the background. Thank you, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. I called my parents first. They'd tell me later. She said firmly, focus on getting better. Lucas will be fine with me. I promise. The next thing I remember was waking up in recovery, groggy from anesthesia. My first coherent thought was about Lucas, but there was already a text from Jenny waiting. Lucas is having a blast. We made pizza and built a blanket fort. Don't worry about anything except getting well. She sent photos over the next 2 days. Lucas playing with her dog Max, helping her bake cookies, falling asleep amid a pile of stuffed animals. Each one made my heart squeeze with gratitude. When I was finally discharged, Jenny drove me to her house. Lucas ran to me the moment I walked in, stopping just short when he remembered I was ouchy. Mommy, Aunt Jenny let me help make breakfast every morning, and Max slept in my blanket. Jenny helped us get home, stocked our fridge, and promised to check in daily. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of recovery, with Jenny bringing over meals and keeping Lucas entertained when I needed rest. One evening, scrolling through social media during Lucas's bedtime story, I saw dozens of photos from Emma's promotion party posted the same day I was in the hospital. Mom and Dad beamed proudly beside Emma in her designer dress, champagne toasts, and elaborate cake. Everyone laughing and celebrating while I lay in a hospital bed. Their grandson was dismissed as a burden. That night, after Lucas was asleep, I sat down at my computer. First, I canceled the automatic monthly transfer to my parents' account for their car payment. Then I blocked them on every social media platform. Looking at the framed photo on my desk, Lucas and me at the park, both laughing as Jenny's dog, Max, chased bubbles around us, I felt something shift inside me. All these years, I had been trying to buy my parents' love with money and tolerance, but real family picks you up from the hospital. Real family builds blanket forts with your kid. Real family shows up. 3 months have passed, and life had fallen into a peaceful rhythm. Jenny and her parents were regular fixtures in our lives, filling our weekends with barbecues, park visits, and movie nights. Then on a quiet Sunday afternoon, my phone rang. Mom's number flashed on the screen. I stared at it for a moment, my hand hovering over the decline button, before deciding to answer. Paula, Mom's voice had that sugary sweet tone she always used when she wanted something. "How are you, sweetheart?" "What do you want, Mom?" A theatrical sigh. "Well, since you asked, your father and I are in a bit of a situation with the car payments." I felt a laugh bubbling up in my chest, but held it back. "Oh, yes, you see." She paused for dramatic effect. "We thought Emma would help us with her new position and all. But when we asked her, she refused. Can you believe it? Said she had her own expenses to worry about after everything we've done for her." The irony was almost too much. "We were hoping," she continued, her voice getting smaller, "that maybe you could start helping with the payments again, just until we figure something else out." This time, I couldn't hold back the laugh. It burst out of me, sharp and bitter. "Paula, this isn't funny. We could lose the car, you know." "What's funny, Mom?" I said. 3 months ago, I was being wheeled into emergency surgery, and you called my son, your grandson, a burden. You couldn't be bothered to help us because you were too busy celebrating Emma's promotion. The same Emma who now won't give you a dime. We were just busy that day. You know how these events are." "No, Mom, I know exactly what it was. I was useful when I was paying your bills. The moment you thought Emma could replace me as your personal ATM, Lucas and I became inconvenient again. That's not fair. Always favored Emma. Always treated me like I was second best. Always took my help for granted until something better came along. Paula, please. You called my financial help handouts, remember? Right before you hung up on me when I was in the hospital. Well, guess what? The handouts are over. I'm done trying to buy your love. I'm done watching you treat my son like he's less than Emma's designer handbags. I'm just done." "But the car." I cut her off with another laugh, this one lighter, almost free. "Not my problem anymore. Goodbye, Mom." I hung up and blocked her number, then did the same with Dad's. Through the open window, I could hear Lucas in the backyard giggling as he played with Jenny and Max. Real laughter, real love, real family. The calls started coming in waves, first from Mom's phone, then Dad's. When I didn't answer, their voicemails ranged from tearful pleas to angry demands. The text messages weren't any better. "Paula, please, we're your parents. This is so selfish of you. We'll lose the car because of you." Each message only confirmed I'd made the right decision. Not one of them mentioned Lucas. Not one expressed regret for how they treated us. It was all about them, their needs, their car, their feelings. After a week of this, I'd had enough. I blocked their numbers completely, set up email filters to send their messages straight to trash, and finally felt like I could breathe again. "You okay?" Jenny asked one Sunday afternoon as we watched Lucas and Max chase each other around her parents' backyard. Tom was at the grill, and Sarah was setting up the patio table for our weekly family dinner. You know what I really am. I accepted the lemonade she offered. I keep waiting to feel guilty or sad, but mostly I just feel free. "You gave them more chances than they deserved," she said, squeezing my hand. "Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is walk away." Mommy, look what Grandpa Tom taught me." Lucas came running over proudly, showing off a new frisbee trick. I watched as Tom abandoned the grill to help Lucas perfect his throw, while Sarah called out encouragement from the patio. This was what family should be, people who show up, not just for the good times, but for the hospital runs and school pickups too. These days, I don't know if my parents still have their car, or if Emma finally stepped up to help them. I don't know if they're still throwing elaborate parties or lamenting their ungrateful eldest daughter. I don't check their social media. I don't ask mutual acquaintances about them. I don't drive by their house when I'm in the neighborhood. What I do know is this: Lucas has never asked about them since that day. Children are intuitive. They know who truly loves them. He has grandparents who never miss school plays, an aunt who builds blanket forts with him, and a mom who finally learned that love shouldn't come with conditions. Last week, Lucas brought home a family tree project from school. He drew Tom and Sarah right next to me, with Jenny and Max nearby. His father had a small branch of his own. We've kept things cordial there, with regular video calls and holiday visits, but my parents and Emma weren't on the paper at all. "Is this okay, Mommy?" he asked, showing me his work. Miss Johnson said family trees usually have more people, but I told her these are the only ones we need. I hung his drawing on the fridge right next to the photo from his last birthday party. Us around the cake, genuine smiles on every face. "It's perfect, baby," I told him. Absolutely perfect. Sometimes the family you're born into isn't the family you're meant to have. Sometimes you have to let go of the people who should have loved you to make room for the people who actually do. It took me 32 years to learn that lesson, but watching Lucas grow up surrounded by real, unconditional love, I'd say it was worth the wait.